Growing up, I was in foster care a lot, in and out, probably about 8 times, nine, throughout my life. And it was tough. It was rough, as far as like abuse. The reason why we would be in foster care now is because my mom, she struggled with drug addiction. And it was literally the first of every month she would disappear. We call it a disappearing act. We would be so oblivious, obviously. We don't know what's going on. But I remember my mom, she was so generous. And there was this lady, I guess she told her story and her struggle that they were going through. She actually ended up letting them stay with us, not knowing that this was the biggest drug dealer in Brooklyn at the time. They used our house to sell drugs and in and out. One night, I'm sleeping on the couch. Boom! Police coming in, like just raided the house. And like, I just remember there was a gun in my face. There was a gun in my brother's face. It was wild because I was put in handcuffs at 11 years old. And because the ACS case was already open, my oldest brother, he was like, I don't want my brothers going back into foster care. In fact, I will step in and be their foster parent. From then on, life changed, and he wanted different for us. We didn't really know who God was. My mom, she would take us to church, growing up here and there, but we didn't know God. We know of God. There's a difference between knowing of and knowing. My good sister from high school, Samara, she came up to me. She goes, Zay. She goes, my church, we're doing youth on Friday. And she's like, we'd love for you to come. When I caught the love of God through community, through serving, it was so easy for me to do what I was doing. It's not what we do, but it's who we do it with. I'd rather be with people that were willing to hear me out than to be in a room with people who would just use you just for the moment. After 2 years later, after leaving my brothers, I decided to go back to my mom because I saw a change in my mom. That she was coming clean, she was doing better, and it was such a beautiful thing to see. And then we was in a shelter, it was like an apartment building shelter. One Sunday, I remember seeing my mom drunk, but this time she was like drunk, where it was then bringing up things that I was like, oh no, I know how this goes. She fell, she hit her head, and then that Monday, I will never forget, my twin brother was sleeping in the bed with her. Kivas noticed something was different, and he kept saying, Ma, she's not waking up. So the first Monday, it was a cardiac arrest in her sleep. The second Monday, the doctors, they said that she had brain damage. And the third Monday, we got the news. She's gone. I said, God, I'm gonna trust you. There's so much that God can do in traumatic situations. I said, if I can trust God through my mom's death and to see where I'm at now, I can trust him through anything. Becoming an EMT, that was the very last thing on my list. Becoming an EMT was tough. God does so many things that we can't even imagine for ourselves. He does the impossible. When Mike and Tabby, when they've reached out to me in November, and they reached me about adoption, and I was shocked.
I think the first time I met Zay was at our first big youth event. Lo and behold, there's one kid jumping up higher than everybody else, and that was Zay up there, just living his dream, and just had such a vibrant personality. You just wanted to be around him.
For years, since we've known him, I've jokingly said to Michael in passing, at church when we would see Zay, we should adopt Zay. And Michael would always be like, you can't just go adopt a person. That's not how that works. And then, but it was always just from this place of, just loving who he was and just wanting to be in his life because he's awesome. wanting to support him however we could. So I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me to just ask him if he wanted to be adopted. And it's sort of a weird thing to ask an adult, but if I've learned anything from the Holy Spirit, it's that when he tells you to do something, you should just do it, because he always knows best. Like all of us together like this, and our life experiences, and when we're all sitting around the table, I'm just like, this is what heaven's gonna look like.
We all grew up very similar, all of us, and it's why it's so easy for me to understand where they're at. It wasn't just my story, but it was more beyond my story. It was their story. You know, Sincere, JJ, Z, Jax, Sky. God is like filling in spaces in my life that I thought were like gaps, or that I thought, I would never get. Not only does God restore families, but he forms them. Psalm 68 says he sets the lonely in families.